The golden gates of the Montecito mansion have long been marketed as a sanctuary of truth, a fortress where the Duke and Duchess of Sussex supposedly escaped the perceived toxicity of the British monarchy to live their most authentic lives. But tonight, that fortress has become a prison of devastating secrets. Reports are emerging from deep within the inner circle that Prince Harry was found in a state of total emotional collapse, clutching a series of documents that threaten to incinerate every pillar of his domestic life. This is not just another tabloid headline. This is the moment the bulletproof glass of the Meghan Markle brand finally shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces. The cause of this royal meltdown? A series of shocking DNA results and forensic records brought to light by none other than Samantha Markle. For years, the world was told to look away from Samantha, to dismiss her as the bitter, jealous half-sister chasing a paycheck. We were told she was the villain in a glossy fairy tale, but the narrative has shifted with terrifying speed. Samantha has stopped the public rants and replaced them with a cold, calculated silence that should have been the first warning sign. She wasn't just talking, she was waiting for the lab results to come back. Go straight to the core of the controversy. The authenticity that Meghan Markle has sold to the world for millions of dollars is now facing a biological trial. Insiders claim that the documents Harry was seen weeping over contain genetic markers and birth record discrepancies that contradict the very foundation of Meghan's origin story. We are talking about a betrayal that goes beyond simple lies or omissions. This is about the fundamental identity of the woman he married. Samantha Markle has allegedly revealed that the timeline of Meghan's life, specifically the mysterious window around the year 1997, is not what it seems. The urgency of this situation cannot be overstated. When you build a multi-million-dollar business model on being real, any hint of a fabricated past is a death sentence for your credibility. For Harry, the realization hit like a freight train. Imagine the scene. A prince who gave up his military titles, his family, and his country for a woman he believed was an open book, only to find out that several chapters were missing, and others were written in a language he was never taught to read. The shockwaves are traveling from California all the way back to the gates of Buckingham Palace. What Samantha has allegedly uncovered is a genetic and documentary trail that leads back to a specific set of records that have been kept under lock and key since the year 2018. Why would a private citizen need to seal records from 21 years prior, just as she was entering the most famous family on Earth? The coincidence is too massive to ignore. The tension in the Sussex household is said to be at an all-time high, with Harry demanding answers that are simply not coming. The silence from Meghan's camp isn't the silence of dignity. It is the silence of a strategist who has run out of moves. This is the beginning of a constitutional and personal crisis. If the DNA results and the records from 1997 are what Samantha claims them to be, it doesn't just change Harry's marriage, it changes the legal standing of everything they have built together. We are witnessing the unraveling of a script that was written with the precision of a Hollywood blockbuster, but the lead actor has just discovered the plot is a lie. But as Harry sits in his study, staring at the results of a test that should never have had to be taken, a darker question begins to emerge. If the DNA and the birth records don't match the official story, then who exactly is the woman the world knows as the Duchess of Sussex? And more importantly, what happened to the child the public records suggest was born long before the world ever heard the name Meghan Markle? The answers are buried deep in a history that was supposed to stay erased, and the first crack in the dam has just appeared. The truth is no longer a choice, it is a leak that cannot be plugged. And the most terrifying part for Harry? This is only the first page of the report. When you examine the life of any global icon, the trajectory is usually a straight line, a clear, documented path from high school to university, from the first job to the big break. It is a sequence of events that leaves a trail of yearbooks, tax records, and eyewitnesses. But when the titans of investigative biography, men like Tom Bower and Andrew Morton, attempted to map out the history of Meghan Markle, they didn't find a straight line. They hit a granite wall. These are not amateur bloggers. These are the professionals who deconstructed the lives of Princess Diana and global tycoons. Yet, both expressed a profound, chilling frustration. They couldn't piece together who the Duchess actually was during several key windows of her life. It was as if a massive, invisible hand had reached into the archives of history and pulled out specific pages, leaving behind nothing but a hazy, filtered narrative. This is the deadly gap in the timeline, a period where the glossy fairy tale becomes a confusing maze of contradictions. To understand the tears shed by Prince Harry in his study, you have to understand the nature of this erasure. We are not just talking about a desire for privacy. Every human being is entitled to a private life. However, when you build a business model centered on radical transparency and living your truth, those missing chapters become a liability. The public starts to notice the edits. It feels less like a life lived and more like a script written, where a ruthless director has cut 10 minutes of crucial plot development, leaving the audience wondering how the character got from point A to point B. The internet sleuths and investigative journalists have identified several of these blank spots, but none are as glaring as the years leading up to her big break on the show Suits. While the official story paints a picture of a struggling actress at auditions, the details are suspiciously thin. Where was the paper trail? Where were the long-term roommates, the neighbors, or the colleagues who could verify her whereabouts? Instead of a rich tapestry of memories, we find a digital scrubber has been through her past with surgical precision. Even the documents related to her first marriage to Trevor Engelson are notoriously difficult to access. Their civil ceremony was a ghost of an event, almost no witnesses, no family, just strangers. It was a pattern of secrecy that began long before she ever met a prince. Samantha Markle has long insisted that these gaps weren't accidental. She has alluded to a great scrubbing that took place the moment the relationship with Harry became serious. But why? What could be so damaging that it required the systematic deletion of a decade of life? Samantha has hinted that the authenticity brand was built on what she calls Porky's elaborate lies told to the royals to secure her position. As Harry looks at the timeline now, he is forced to confront the possibility that the woman he fell in love with is a curated persona, a character created for a specific role, while the real Rachel Meghan Markle remains hidden in those hazy margins. The most disturbing aspect of this timeline manipulation is the year 1997. It sits there in the middle of her youth like a black hole. While other celebrities have their teenage years documented in excruciating detail, 1997 is a year that seems to have been locked away in a vault. For years, the public was told there was nothing to see, but the rumors refused to die. And as Samantha began to drop breadcrumbs about evidence from the 90s that had never been examined, the world began to lean in. Samantha stopped being the angry sister and started acting like a witness for the prosecution, possessing a strange, calm confidence that suggested she was holding the master key to the vault. As the timeline began to unravel, the focus shifted from celebrity gossip to a dark, investigative thriller. The seed of doubt had been planted. What if the jealous sister was the only one telling the truth all along? What if the villains were actually the ones trying to warn the world? Harry is now realizing that the fairy tale he was sold was missing the most important part of the story, the origin. And as we dig deeper into the mystery of 1997, we find that the records weren't just lost. They were allegedly sealed by an authority that doesn't want the truth to see the light of day. But why wait 21 years to lock a record tight? The answer to that question lies in a California records office, and it is a detail so devastating that it changes the parentage of the entire Sussex line. If the records from 1997 reveal what many now fear, the authenticity mask hasn't just slipped, it has been ripped off. And the person who should be the most terrified isn't Meghan, but the man who realized he never truly knew the woman he calls his wife. But before we get to the contents of that vault, we have to look at the man who was allegedly left in the shadows to keep the secret, the ghost groom. The investigation into the life of Meghan Markle has shifted from the realm of celebrity gossip into the territory of a high-stakes investigative thriller. With the seeds of doubt planted by the gaps in her timeline, a group of persistent internet sleuths decided to do what mainstream journalists were perhaps too intimidated to attempt. They went directly to the source. The focus narrowed down to a single, mysterious year, 1997. Why this specific year? Because it represents one of the most guarded blank spots in the entire Markle narrative? Someone took the initiative to write to the California Birth Records Office to see if any documents existed under the name Rachel Meghan Markle for that 12-month period. Ordinarily, such a request would return a simple no record found, and the theory would die there. But that is not what happened. The response that allegedly came back sent massive shockwaves through the online investigative community. The office reportedly confirmed that they found records showing a birth associated with that name in 1997. However, here is the kicker, the devastating detail that changes the entire trajectory of the royal story. They could not provide any specific details. Why? Because the records were officially sealed. In the world of high-level investigations, timing is everything, and the timing of this lockdown is nothing short of suspicious. These documents weren't just random private files that had been tucked away for decades. The lockdown on these specific records allegedly occurred in December 2018. Let that sink in for a moment. Meghan and Harry had been married since May 2018. At the time of the sealing, she was pregnant with Archie, fully integrated into the heart of the British royal family, and at the absolute peak of her global fame. Why would someone wait more than 20 years to seal a birth record from their teenage years, unless that record had suddenly become a catastrophic liability? This wasn't a case of protecting the privacy of a minor. It was the clinical erasing of a paper trail belonging to a woman who was now a duchess. The question that is now haunting Prince Harry in the quiet halls of Montecito is simple, yet terrifying. What was in that 1997 file that required the intervention of high-powered legal teams 7 months after his wedding? As the dust settled on the discovery of the sealed records, the investigators pivoted their focus. They realized they shouldn't be looking for strangers in Meghan's past. They should be looking at the people who were there all along, hiding in plain sight. The focus shifted toward the Markle family tree, specifically a cousin named Sean Johnson. This is where the speculation becomes uncomfortable and incredibly specific. The internet began analyzing photographs of a child often referred to in family circles as Noelle. This wasn't just a casual observation of they look alike. This was forensic-level scrutiny. People began performing side-by-side comparisons of Meghan at age 16 and the child Noelle. The results were described as an uncanny genetic mirror. Investigators pointed to the specific shape of the ears, the structure of the nose, and the way the smile breaks across the face in a way that is almost identical to the Duchess herself. Genetics are a funny thing, but they rarely lie with such precision. The theory that has gained the most traction is explosive. What if the family roles were rearranged in a classic old Hollywood fix? In this scenario, a child born in that missing 1997 window was not put up for adoption to strangers, but was instead raised within the family to protect the future career of a young, ambitious Meghan. The mother becomes the aunt, the grandmother becomes the mother. The truth is buried under a different title. If this is true, it explains the deep, visceral anger Meghan seems to have toward her father and Samantha. It is not just about them talking to the press about her personality. It is the paralyzing fear that they hold the ultimate card in their hands. They know who Noelle really is. If a DNA test ever happened, the authenticity brand would not just crumble, it would be exposed as a fraud on a global scale. The implication for Harry is a billion-dollar question. Was the royal wedding conducted under false pretenses? If Harry had known about a past pregnancy or a secret child, would the House of Windsor have ever allowed the union to proceed? The tears Harry is reportedly shedding are the tears of a man who realizes he may have been the mark in a very long game. He was sold a fairy tale, but the DNA and the sealed records suggest he bought into a scripted reality. However, as dark as the secrets of 1997 are, they are only the beginning. Because while the world is focused on who might have been born in her past, a new medical mystery has emerged regarding her present, one that involves her ex-husband, Trevor Engelson, and a comment that threatens to delegitimize the entire Sussex line of succession. The weight of the documents resting on Prince Harry's desk is not merely physical, it is a crushing, biological, and legal reality that threatens to dismantle the very identity of his children. While the world has been focused on the rumors of a secret child from 1997, a second, perhaps more devastating front has opened in this war of information. This is where the narrative shifts from family drama into a medical mystery that has left Harry in a state of absolute despair. According to sources close to the unfolding crisis, the DNA results provided by Samantha Markle were accompanied by a set of testimonies that point toward a massive contradiction in Meghan's medical history. A contradiction that involves her first husband, Trevor Engelson. For years, Trevor Engelson has been the silent ghost of Meghan's past. He took the high road, refusing to grant tell-all interviews or write a sensationalist memoir after being famously ghosted via a FedEx package containing Meghan's wedding rings. But the silence of a producer who knows the truth is often louder than the screams of an enemy. The rumor currently circulating within investigative circles and allegedly confirmed by the documents Harry is now holding is that Trevor made a private comment that shatters the official royal narrative. The allegation is as specific as it is career-ending. The claim that Meghan underwent a hysterectomy during her years with Trevor. If this medical detail is true, and we must emphasize that we are analyzing the allegations currently fueling this fire, then the biological equation of the last 5 years simply does not add up. It creates a wall of physical impossibility. How do you explain the pregnancies that followed? How do you explain the birth of Archie in 2019 or Lilibet in 2021? This is the precise reason why the surrogacy and moonbump theories have refused to die. Despite the best efforts of the Sussex PR machine to label them as hateful conspiracies, it wasn't just people being cruel. It was people trying to do the math on a biological timeline that appeared to have been fabricated. For Prince Harry, the realization of this potential deception is a betrayal of the highest order. In the context of the British royal family, the born of the body requirement is not just a tradition. It is a strict legal and constitutional mandate for the line of succession. If a child is born via surrogacy, they are loved, they are family, but under current UK law, they cannot hold a place in the line to the throne. If Meghan lied about her medical history to Harry, and by extension to the Queen and the entire institution, it isn't just a white lie to protect her privacy. It is, in the eyes of the law, constitutional fraud. Harry is now staring at a reality where his children's titles and their very place in his family's history are built on a foundation of sand. This explains the frantic secrecy that surrounded the births of both children, the refusal to use royal doctors, the mysterious timing of the announcements, and the breaking of centuries-old traditions regarding the notice of birth. The pieces of the puzzle are finally clicking into place, and the picture they form is terrifying for a man who gave up everything for a transparent life. Harry is reportedly demanding a full medical audit, a move that has caused a total blackout of communication between him and Meghan. The authenticity brand is no longer just crumbling. It is being incinerated by the very truth it claimed to champion. But the medical mystery is only one layer of this darkening story. Samantha Markle has hinted that the porkies told to the royals didn't start with the pregnancies. They began with the very way Meghan funded her life before she ever set foot in London. As the DNA results cast doubt on her motherhood, a different set of rumors is surfacing about her time on the Mediterranean. If you think the secret child theory is explosive, wait until you hear about the yacht girl allegations and the high society waters Meghan was navigating long before she found her prince. The question isn't just who she was in 1997, but who was paying the bills during those missing years in the early 2000s. The answer involves names that the royal family would prefer to stay buried forever. The question that is currently paralyzing legal minds across 2 continents is remarkably simple. If these accusations are as false and malicious as the Sussex camp claims, why hasn't Samantha Markle been sued into oblivion? We know for a fact that Meghan Markle is not afraid of a courtroom. She is a woman who has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars suing the Mail on Sunday over a single letter. She has legal teams on retainer that cost more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes. She has pursued bloggers, photographers, and media giants with a ferocity that suggests she will settle for nothing less than total surrender. So, why allow her own sister to publicly insinuate that she has a secret child, a fabricated history, and a compromised medical past? The answer is found in one terrifying word: discovery. In the complex world of high-stakes litigation, discovery is the phase where the curtains are pulled back and both sides are forced to show their cards. If Meghan were to sue Samantha for defamation regarding the 1997 child or the allegations of a faked pregnancy history, she would be walking directly into a legal slaughterhouse. To win a defamation case, the plaintiff must prove that the statements made against them are false. This means that the moment the lawsuit is filed, Meghan would lose all control over her most guarded secrets. Samantha Markle's legal team would have the right to demand discovery of every document Meghan has fought to hide. We are talking about the unsealing of those 1997 birth records that were locked away in December 2018. We are talking about a court-mandated DNA test to prove, once and for all, whether she shares a biological bond with the child known as Noel. It would mean handing over the bulletproof medical records from her time in London and her years with Trevor Engelson. Samantha isn't just shouting into the wind, she is holding the door open to a courtroom, daring Meghan to step inside. Samantha knows it, and Meghan knows it. This is a masterclass in psychological and legal warfare. By remaining calm and dropping breadcrumbs of evidence, Samantha has turned herself from a perceived villain into a witness for the prosecution. She is betting that Meghan loves her secrets more than she hates the rumors. And so far, that bet is paying off with every day of silence that passes. This stalemate is the reason Prince Harry was found in such a state of despair. He is realizing that the woman who promised him total authenticity is now trapped by the very legal system she once used as a weapon. Adding fuel to this fire is the recent emergence of a physical letter allegedly connected to the Markle family circle and specifically addressing the Sean Johnson situation. This isn't just a digital rumor, it is a document that has been scrutinized by handwriting experts in the shadowy corners of the internet. The content of the letter reportedly aligns perfectly with the theories involving the old Hollywood fixed the practice of hiding a child in plain sight by rearranging family titles. The letter speaks of unresolved matters, of the daughter who became a cousin, and of the heavy price of silence. The timing of this revelation is brutal. It dropped just as Meghan was attempting to pivot her brand once again, moving away from royal grievances and toward a new lifestyle and wellness empire. But how can you sell wellness and mindful living when your own family history is a minefield of unexploded truths? The Sussex camp has remained deafeningly silent, and in the world of high-level PR, silence in the face of such specific career-ending accusations doesn't look like dignity anymore. It looks like a strategic retreat. It looks like guilt. Harry is now caught in the middle of this discovery trap. If he supports a lawsuit to clear his wife's name, he risks exposing a truth that could strip his children of their titles and his wife of her remaining credibility. If he remains silent, he allows the world to believe that his marriage was built on a foundation of lies. The authenticity brand is effectively dead, suffocated by the very records that were supposed to stay buried forever. But as the walls close in, one final question remains. If the past was so carefully erased, what happened to the people who were there to witness the original story? The answer leads back to the Mediterranean, and a lifestyle that the prince was never supposed to know about. The final act of this drama is about to begin, and it starts with a name Harry thought he could forget. The final curtain is falling on the House of Sussex, and the applause has been replaced by a deafening, judgmental silence. For Prince Harry, the tears are no longer about the media or the perceived slights of the British royal family. They are for the realization that he is the most famous collateral damage in a game he never knew he was playing. The DNA results, the sealed records from 1997, and the forensic analysis of a life built on hazy margins have led to this moment, the total and irreversible death of the authenticity brand. You cannot preach honesty to the world while your own past is guarded by multi-million-dollar legal firewalls and non-disclosure agreements. But as the investigation reaches its conclusion, we have to address the final, darkest shadow that the discovery trap has failed to hide. While the world was debating the existence of a secret child, another rumor was quietly being verified in the background, the yacht girl allegations. Critics have pointed out a glaring financial impossibility in Meghan's pre-royal life. Before the success of the show Suits, she was living a high society lifestyle that her meager acting credits simply could not pay for. Who was funding the 5-star international travel? Who was paying for the designer wardrobe that cost tens of thousands of dollars? The rumor mill, now bolstered by Samantha Markle's hints, suggests that Meghan was navigating the glamorous European social scene as a hostess on mega yachts, rubbing shoulders with the global elite long before she ever met Harry. If you are trying to market yourself as a humanitarian icon and a feminist leader, you must scrub the internet of any connection to that world. You delete the blog posts, you ghost the friends who knew you then, and you erase the records. But as Harry is now discovering, you cannot delete memories. Samantha Markle has hinted that she knows exactly who paid the bills during those struggling years, and the truth would do more than just damage a reputation. It would destroy the very foundation of the marriage. If the prince fell in love with a humanitarian, but married a woman with a for sale sign on her past, the betrayal goes beyond simple family drama. It is a fundamental breach of trust. Harry traded 1,000 years of family tradition, his military brotherhood, and his birthright for a 7-year script. He is the Prince of Montecito, sitting in a $14 million mansion that has become a house of mirrors. Every time he looks at the DNA reports or the sealed files from 1997, he sees a different version of the woman he thought he knew. The medical mystery of the pregnancies and the legal mystery of the birth records have converged to create a catastrophic reality for the line of succession. If these children were not born of the body, as the DNA insinuations suggest, then the Sussexes have engaged in what could be described as the greatest constitutional deception in British history. The silence from Buckingham Palace is telling, but the silence from Montecito is even louder. In the world of PR, you don't let a rumor about a secret child and fake pregnancies fester for 6 years unless you are terrified of what the evidence would reveal in a court of law. The authenticity brand is not just crumbling, it has become a mockery. You can only play a character for so long before the audience realizes they are watching a performance. The world is no longer buying the polished, glossy fairy tale. They are looking at the gaps in the timeline, the forensic similarities in the family photos, and the suspicious timing of the record lockdowns in 2018. The truth has a funny way of bubbling to the surface, no matter how deep you try to bury it in the California soil. Where does this leave Harry? He is a man caught between a past he cannot return to and a future built on a lie. As Samantha Markle continues to act with the calm confidence of a woman who has already won, the world is left to wonder, what will be the final key that unlocks the vault? Let us know in the comments. Why do you think the records from 1997 were locked tight just 7 months after the royal wedding? Was it privacy? Or was it a desperate attempt to hide a truth that would change the monarchy forever? The mask has slipped, and what lies beneath is about to get very messy. Don't forget to like and subscribe as we continue to track the final days of the Sussex illusion. The story is far from over, and the next leak might be the one that ends the game for good.